record, get that started. So welcome to the BNI Tampa 20 Percenters Workshop. You may be wondering what exactly a 20 Percenters Workshop is. I made it up. So that's the good thing. We're going to learn some fun things around it. I've done some data digging to get a little geeky on things, and hopefully you will like some of the data that I dug up. And then we're going to have some opportunities to do a breakout room, share some information between us. So everybody that can, please turn your cameras on and leave them on, because we want to see everybody out there. And I know that is how I get feedback. It's very difficult for me. I like to be in person with folks. And so if you can turn your cameras on, that is a very big help for me specifically to do that. Another thing is, please feel free to ask questions. One of the best ways to do that is to raise your hand. If you don't know how to raise your hand, typing it in the chat is another. I am looking for raising hands and chats, and I have a few co-hosts out there as well that will help mute you if by chance you don't have yourself muted and there's background noise on you. So look for those. But we are going to go right into the 20 Percenters Workshop and see if you guys can learn some fun stuff with this. I had some pretty fun stuff making it, so let's hope it is just as fun for you learning it. So first and foremost, who was Vilfredo Pareto? Anybody have any idea? I know Mike Faust and I were talking about this. Or no, Michael Carter, I think, was the one we were talking about this.
Right.
Who was he? Anybody know who he was?
Guy that came up with the Pareto Principle. I don't know what he did.
Sir, Pastor Michael, do you have, he was just telling me about this. He learned some things.
Yes, he was an Italian economist, but he developed the principle while messing around in his garden. He noticed that 20% of his peas produced 80% of his crop yield.
That is correct. So everybody thinks, oh, he saw all this data inside of Italy, and that's why he came up with this idea. And the reality is, no, it was the peas that started the whole process. And then he proved it out with all the data that he did inside of economy. So Vilfredo Pareto was Italian, and he's the one who's credited with having the Pareto Principle. Now, the Pareto Principle is very simple. 20% of the inputs equal 80% of the results. That also means that 80% of the inputs equal 20% of the results. So you get that both sides inside of it, and it looks a little like this. So if you think about the fact that in your world, 20% of all that you do creates 80% of your joy. It also creates 80% of your results, 80% of your income, 80% of most things. Now, it's not going to be exact in everything, and I ran some numbers and found some that were unbelievably uncanny, unbelievable, truly, of how dead on the money 80-20 was. And then there were others that were not quite the same. So we'll get to some of those and how those work. But as you think about that, what are some of those activities that you're going, wow, I need to do less of these and more of those in order to get them? But here's the weird part, right? Here's the part that the business coach in me has the hardest part with is normally, and I've done lean manufacturing and Six Sigma and really gotten into lean startup and all that different kind of stuff. So I look for ways to eliminate waste as fast as possible from business and to make sure you're focusing on the right things. But here's the interesting part. If you don't do all the activities, it's very hard to have the 20% that are good. You can't just focus 100% on the 20% because there's still the 80% of things that have to get done inside of our businesses. You all get that, right? Like, even though it may not be the most valuable and the most exciting part of your business to go and figure out all the accounting and the QuickBooks and the bookkeeping and all those things, it still has to be done. Even though that's creating not, this gets 20% of your results because you're doing those things, you still have to do the activities. So as much as we all want to eliminate many things that we do, the reality on the thing is you still have to do activities in your business that are not going to be the most productive and the most results generating activities in your business. So as much as I want to go, oh, I just want to go and find all those 80% and just eliminate it, you can't. There is ways to be able to have other people and delegate a lot of those things, that, as Dr. Ivan Meisner says, there's the wax and the flame. And if you have your candle and you're working in the candle, you get to choose whether you're in the flame of the things that turn you on and give you excitement and joy and passion, or there's the wax that's just hard and sluggish and you got to get through it and you can't stand it, but you got to do it anyway. So that wax and flame is a really great way to think about it, because you want the joy factor more than anything. Of course, we all want the money factor and the things that result from that, but the joy factor is a big deal for most of us to have. So let's look at some of this data, okay? Here is our numbers of members in BNI Tampa from April. So these new reports will all be coming out in the next 2 days, and we could have brand new numbers and look at these a little bit differently, but they really work out fairly equal. So here you go. If we have 1,583 members in our system of our BNI Tampa family, that means 80-20 is 1,266 members on the 80%, and then 317 members on the 20%. So let's start looking through some of this. What's the difference maker? Is it the length of membership? Is that what makes them a 20%er? Well, if you look at 1,583 members, this is dead on the money. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't do the math any better. I literally went in and took length of membership, and 5-year members and higher, all of them combined, was 317, dead on the money. Isn't that amazing? To me, I'm like, what? That's at the level at which I think most people, when they say they've been a long-term member, is when they think, I've been around this for 5 years. So a 5-year member, long-term, 317 exactly. But does that make the difference of whether or not they are super successful in BNI? Pretty interesting thought, right? If you've been around for 5 years, or we have one who's been around for 17 years, Clay Kerr is our longest term member, and he's the IT guy up in the Referral Masters in Clearwater, our big, huge 105, 107 member chapter. He has been around for 17 years. And then there's a few who've been around for 16 years, and then a few who've been 15, and that keeps adding up. But are those members the top of the list in the green? Are they producing the most amount of activity and the most amount of results in their business? I'm here to tell you, no. Now, it doesn't mean they're not good members, but we have a lot of seasoned members, those who've been around for a long time, who are not green members. So it doesn't equate to say, if you've been in long-term, you're going to be green. Make sense? So trying to figure out, and like, what is it that you can look data-wise that really shows what creates the best results? So here's the thing. If you look at this, oops, I got to go back here. Are they all green? Well, if you take those 317 members that are 5 years and more, guess what? 63% of them, or 63 members, which is exactly 20%, are green. Right? Like that was what I did, Mike. That's Celeste's same thing. It was like, what? Seriously? Like, it was dead on the money. And I ran a lot of numbers, right, to see where this and that, and I will tell you, I will be truthfully honest with you, there are a couple of them that did not line up, and I go, total outliers. But how amazing that your 5-year members, over 5-year members, 317 of them, and exactly 20% of them are green members. Okay, so it just goes to show that it doesn't matter where you're at in the system, it's all about you and your activity for what you're gonna create. And you gotta be a 20%er. Doesn't matter if you're a brand new member, if you're a member that's been around for a very, very long time, because I'm gonna tell you this number, this is pretty interesting. When you think of the long-term members, what percentage or what number of our 1,583, what number do you think are 1 year or 0 years, right? They're brand new or they're in 1 year. What number overall? Type it in the chat. Tell me what you think. The number of 1,583 members, how many of them are 1 year or less? Matt McElrath says 40%. So 40%, that'd be 800 members, 700 members, 40%. 67, Marlita says. This might be, Peter says 33%, Lindsay says 50, Mike Sullivan says 25, Christine Telford says 80%, right? Here's the amazing thing. This is the number. There are between 0, by the way, 0 means they haven't hit their 1 year yet. There are 568 of those. 1 year member, 352, which means 920 members of our 1,500 are 1 year or less, right? So realize that it does not about membership length, right? It's not about how long you've been a member, because you can be a green member. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean you are creating all the great opportunities in your world, but it's a very good indicator that you are. If you are engaged from the first month, you can become a green member. And every month thereafter, you can be a green member. But if you've been a member for longer than 6 months, is it easier or harder to be a green member? Easier or harder? Put it in the chat. Which one you think? Harder, 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 same, harder, harder, easier. Now, for those of you who are saying, yes, there you go. Marlita said harder if you haven't started green. Why would it be harder to be a green member? If you're not already green, right? If the train isn't already rolling at the speed, it takes a lot more effort to get the speed, because John Maxwell is the one who says it best. Momentum is the great exaggerator, right? You can be okay, but if you got momentum on your side, you look phenomenal and you can do well. If you don't have momentum on your side and you're just slugging along, it's really, really difficult to get those things to make a difference. So momentum is the great exaggerator. And as you think about that, John Maxwell says it this way. Do you realize that a locomotive going at 50 miles an hour with a full train of cars, it can hit a 5-foot thick cement rebar reinforced wall and blow right through it? 5 feet thick cement wall, and it will blow right through it. But yet, if that train is not moving, you can put a 1-inch block in front of the wheel and it can't go anywhere because it's not moving. There's no momentum and it can't get over it, but it'll blow through a 5-foot wall. So that John Maxwell gives that example, and I think it's so vividly clear to be able to see that you've got to start with the momentum to drive this through. So let's look at some more geek data, okay? Here's some more geek data. BNI Tampa with 1,583 members, 1,330 of them are yellow, red, or gray, which is 80%. And it's actually 84% because it's actually 16%. I got the exact number. I didn't put it on the other side. 16%, 253 members are green. But look at that data below it. 95 members are at 65 points, which means they're, if they just clicked over that extra little piece, they could be in that number. So once again, pretty well clear that it's an 80-20 split on looking at who's engaged, what results, what are they generating for themselves. So it's pretty simple to talk about this 20%er being, are you a green member? Because if you're not a green member, you're not in the 20%. What does it take to become there? We're going to talk a little bit more about it. But here's the interesting thing. I actually did a length of membership data crunch on those 253 members, and their average length of membership is 3.2 years. So that means there's some that have a lot more, there's some that have a lot less, but 3.2. So when you have a group of people who've been together for a period of time, they've built great relationships, the wheel is spinning, the momentum is happening, and it's amazing to watch. And it doesn't take years, but in average, it shows us on this 3.2. because I'm looking at a few of you in the room that I know which chapters you're in and which ones are doing really well and how they're working well together. And I look at Record Busters that Nick is in has been an award-winning chapter year and year after year after year. And they've been going for how many years now, Nick?
This is our 14th year.
Right? 14 years. They got some momentum behind them, and they do things in a correct way. And if not, they do course corrections like we all have in all of our chapters. Nobody does everything great, but we all learn. But 14 years, and there's a core group of people who've been there for years, right? Same thing happens in Christine Mancini and Pastor Michael's chapter with Michelle Klein. Their chapter has been, I went to their 10-year party last year, so they've been 10 years, and there is a handful of people that are original 10-year members that are in that group. That's how they became the chapter, right? This huge award-winning chapter this last year. They got momentum on their side. They're moving. Now, some of you are in brand new chapters, like Chris Morris just launched, 3 weeks ago in his chapter, brand spanking new chapter. And Danny is one of that as well. I'm trying to think, Darian is one of those. So I'm just trying to see, we got some brand new people, right? And you have the ability to hit green and be a green chapter as well as a green member right out of the chute. I mean, the reports that come out this week, we're going to see which one of our new chapters hits the highest on that traffic lights to see who's really engaged the highest inside of their activities. But it's very simple to keep it going. So Mike Sullivan, he's in a chapter that has done so unbelievable with the way they've done things in a short amount of time, right? So there's lots of different groups and chapters that do things at different speeds, and just realize that you have an impact in that. And if you're in a chapter that's not, right, you have a chapter that's having a hard time, it's about you helping them get momentum so you can be in the 20 percenters to make that happen. Okay, so here's some more. A little more data. This is our thank you for closed business as of last month at the beginning of the running of reports. $95,594,608 in thank you for closed business for the last rolling 12 months for BNI Tampa. So if you were to take 80% and 20%, that would equate to 76 million is 80% and 19 million is 20%, which means that the 20 percenters would get, that says 90%, that's a wrong typo, $15,095 each of that number if that were true, and that the 80 percenters would get $241,135 if that were true. Now I'm here to tell you, that number doesn't work. That is one of the numbers that as I ran it, I went, it is not true, because you do have a lot of yellow and red members, even some gray, who produce a lot of thank you for closed business. They do a lot of activity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get 80% of the result because they're in the 20%. So realize this, I did do the actual numbers, and the actual numbers are about $15,000 for the bottom end of the groups. But it's not quite 241,000 on the other end. So I was having some issues with my data as I was running these yesterday. It kind of blew my mind how I was getting it, because it was up to 50,000, 56,000, but our average number's higher than that. So I was running them, and then I realized these are 6-month numbers. Oh, I gotta get over the fact that these are 6-month numbers on the Power of One reports and the traffic lights. So that's why I kind of messed up on the data. But I do know this. Those members, because we have a splits report, and in our split report, it talks about the top half of the chapter and the bottom half of the chapter. The top half of a chapter, almost every chapter makes 3 to 4 times more money and gives 3 to 4 times, because that's how we can actually track it, is the thank you for closed business giving. 3 to 4 times what the bottom half does. So you can just imagine that slide up to 20% and realize there's a lion's share of the money that is made in a big way by those who are the 20 percenters, the top of the food chain, okay? So now let's talk about our activities. These are activities that we do, and my equation of how much time do these activities take. So attendance. In order to be a green member, you really got to be at 100%. Okay, that means maybe you got a sub here and there in 6 months. But if you're a new member or you've got, short amount of time, if you miss one meeting, you are way out of luck just because you've only had 4 meetings and then you have 8 meetings and then you have 12 meetings. Then you go, okay, by the time you're 26 meetings in on your 6-month rolling, now missing one or having a substitute does not absolutely destroy your numbers. But one late, one absence, one substitute as a new member doesn't work. So 100%, and we'll just say that for everybody because 6 months rolling, you got to have a very, very clear there every week. And that takes you 2 hours, right? Because you're going early, staying late, 2-hour meeting. Now referrals, to generate 2 of them a week, how much time does that really take? So Matt's saying an hour. I wrote down an hour. I don't know. I mean, you write down in the chat, what do you think it takes? How much time does it take to generate a referral or 2 referrals specifically? Put down in the chat what you think it takes. 30 minutes or so. Lex time, if you're strategic, absolutely no questions asked on that one, Marlita. I agree. Half hour. Lindsay says an hour. Depends on the VCP. No question, right? 30 to 60 minutes. Okay. So no one has said it's more time than my hour. That's the high end. So this is where I was putting in my data going, okay, maybe. Now here's what I would also say. There's another determination factor. How much time does it take to generate a level 1 referral compared to a level 5 referral, right? Level 5 referral, I'm actually setting up times between 2 people. We're all meeting together. There's an entire process compared to give them your phone number or give them your card and here, give them a call, right? That's very different between those level 1 and a level 5. So as green members who really get it, we're one of those where you look at it and go, okay, it's probably going to take a lot more effort to generate 5-star, 5-level 5 referrals. So let's call that an hour because you do have phone calls and back and forth scheduling and all that stuff. Okay. So now when it comes to one-to-ones, we got 2 of those. How long is that going to take? 2 hours, right? If you're going longer than that, then you got your own time management issue, or you got a person that is a chatty catty that you cannot stop, and you got to learn some skills to learn how to slow them down. So having an opportunity to meet for an hour is the plan. I had something that I used. Actually, I'm going to show you because it's right here. I never have it near me. Oh, got to get Zoom. There you go. This is what I use. When I would sit with my clients and when I would sit with people to have my time, I would hit this and I'd flip it over and my sands of time would run out in an hour. And so I would say, this is what we got. Let's make sure we're good. So I now use my phone and I actually set it for 30 minutes. And when I set my 30-minute timer, I go, you got 30, go. And they're like, what do you mean? When the beep's up, you're up. My turn to go at 30 minutes so we can make sure we get through this in time. And people, they all of a sudden step up and like act a whole lot more professional and are a lot more focused on getting it done when they realize that we're not going to do a 2.5-hour one-to-one because time is money and we got to make sure we're doing the right stuff. So 2 one-to-ones equals 2 hours. CEUs, 2 per week. That's 2 hours, right? Now you can get that while you're driving around or folding laundry or making dinner or whatever, put your headphones in and go. So there's a lot of opportunity to do that when it's not dedicated time like the other ones. You can't have a one-to-one and do anything else. You got to be 100%, whereas CEUs, you can do that at a different time. Visitors, how long does it take for you to find 1 visitor per month? Put that one in the chat. I put a half an hour, but I don't believe that at all. But how long do you think it takes for you to find 1 visitor per month? Nobody's answering. You're having to think. There we go. 2 hours a month, an hour. You need to invite more to get 1 true, 1 good hour, an hour. Okay, an hour, but always ongoing. Now remember this. That hour, this is a half an hour a week. So that's 2 hours a month to find 1 visitor, right? I'm telling you this. I normally find visitors in less than 10 minutes. It normally takes me about 90 seconds and then a couple of either emails or text message reminders before the meeting. So if I add it all up, 8 or 10 minutes per visitor. And I can normally get one of those a week to come to a chapter. And so I'm saying a half an hour, that's a big stretch in my opinion, to find one visitor to come to a chapter on a monthly basis, because you're doing this 4 times. And let's say you're inviting every single week and doing it, and you only have one a month that actually shows up because you got 2 of them registered every week, or one, and then one that does show up. Okay, so there's all of our activities. Here's the thing. Now I want you to think of this. What's the 80-20 when it comes to your time, okay? That means if you take 80-20 on 7.5 hours that we just went through to be a real good green member, and by the way, I tell new members it takes 5 hours to be a BNI member. This is a green member that takes 7.5. And I would say most of us and most of us green members are going to do a lot more than 2 CEUs. And we're going to do a lot more than 2 one-to-ones. But let's just say, based on this to get there, 7.5 hours, 80% is 6 hours, 1.5 is the 20%. So we know we can get 20% and get the best results. What is our 20% time doing? We can't give up the other 80%. But what do you believe are the activities that are going to generate the best return from those? Type it into the chat, see what you think. Training, CEUs, okay? What do you think are going to give your chapter overall the best results? Research, so looking for the referrals. CEUs, giving referrals, visitors, one-to-one, training and visitors, one-to-ones, referrals. All right, so we're all over the board on this one. Well, here's the thing. I looked at it data-wise and really checked it out and figured it out. You might disagree with me because this is not an autocracy. You can choose your own ways and you can act in whatever ways make sense for you. But I'm going to tell you what I found, okay? I found that if you spend the 20% in those 1.5 hours right there, which are generating referrals and finding visitors, that they have the highest bang for their buck. And you're going to get the best 80% results in your chapter. Why is that? Well, here's what I'm going to do. You can look at the other things, right? Once again, you cannot get rid of the 80% activities. Otherwise, you can't get green. So this is where I said earlier, 80-20, you can't just go, oh, let me eliminate the other 6 hours. Well, if you don't do the other 6 hours, the other's not going to happen because you're not going to get referrals and you're not going to give them and it all falls apart. So here's the deal. Let's look at this activity. This is just so you can see what the value of those 2 things are. Last month, we had a total of $6,363,269 of thank you for closed business that was generated in the last 30 days, last month, okay? Now, we had 5,253 referrals. Now, granted, I know that the referral that month does not mean the thank you for closed business that month, but on an average, if you roll through the year, it actually works out the same. I did it, and I'll tell you exactly what those numbers are in a minute. But that means that each referral is an average value of $1,211 each. Now, some of our referrals can be worth $50,000 and some of our referrals can be worth $100. But an average number, that's how much each referral is worth. And look at the visitors, okay? Visitors, last month, we had 197 visitors between our 44 chapters. On average, we track regularly, and we know that it takes about $1,000. Some chapters are as high as $1,473. So about $1,000. So I'm going to call it $1,200 of value that a visitor will bring to your chapter. And that's not even a visitor that applies and becomes a member, because then they bring membership and everything else happens. Just having guests and visitors in your room every week, it will normally generate $1,000 to $1,500 per person in the room in closed business over the next several months of that person being there. Is there anything that you do that generates more than $1,000 every time you do it? That's where I go, hey, one-to-ones are great and they can generate the referral that we're talking about. And doing your feature presentations, doing your CEUs, learning how to do things better. They're all to generate those things. They're all to generate more referrals, okay? So as you get those referrals, that's it. So if you take the time, spending dedicated time, and by honest raise of hands or writing yes in the chat, how many of you dedicate a specific amount of time to literally generate referrals every week inside of BNI? How many of you? All right, I got 5 yeses, got a couple of thumbs up, okay? So reality on this is, it is not an activity that all people do. And it is something that 20%ers do, and that's why you're here. It's because you went to a 20%ers workshop to either become one because you want to be there, or you're already on the list of being a 20%. So as you look at the opportunity, focusing on generating referrals, because if you don't, why do you expect anyone in your chapter to do it for you? You generate referrals, and then you find visitors to help generate more closed business for everybody else in the room as well. Okay, so those 2 activities are one of the best bang for your buck, and there's your 80-20. So your 80%, you're doing all the activities to gain what you need, but doing the actual finding of referrals and inviting the visitors are the most valuable moments you can spend. And are you actually dedicating a specific time on your calendar to do it? I'm telling you, from my opinion, that's going to be one of the greatest returns you're going to get out of the 80-20 rule in this conversation. Okay, so last year I did the actual numbers: $95,612,036 in thank you for closed business. We had 86,000 referrals. That's a total of $1,109. So you can see it's within dollars of average every single month compared to the whole year overall. So there's your activities. Okay, so question now is, how are we going to do this consistently? Okay, here's what we're going to do. I want everybody to pay attention on this one so that we get it and we understand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create some breakout rooms. Okay, they are randomly created. You are all going to jump into a breakout room here in just a moment. I'm going to click the button and you're going to go there. But what I'd love you to do is this. We're going to go for 5 minutes. So there are 4 people and almost all of them, one that has 5. So y'all get about a minute or so to share. What are you doing, or what can you do to consistently generate the results inside of BNI so that it happens every time? Not so that you do it pretty regularly and, oh, I'm yellow this month and now I'm green again. I'm talking about being green and staying green consistently every month of the year. And there's many of you on this that I know are in top 150 and you're in that world. So sharing with the others in your room what it is, take some notes. And you're going to choose a spokesperson from your group who's going to share the best idea. And we're going to go around and have all the breakout rooms I have. How many breakout rooms I've got? 7 breakout rooms. 7 breakout rooms, you're all going to share your very best idea. Then we're going to share and make sure we catch all the best ideas. But I want to see what you're doing specifically inside of this so that it works for you. Everybody ready? Y'all clear? Okay, so we're going to go 5 minutes. So realize that at 4 minutes, I'm going to hit the button and it's going to start counting down your 5th minute. And then you're all going to come back into the main room. So opening it up and we're going to hit it. Patty, does it come up for you to have a meeting room to go into? There you go. Anybody else here that has not been able to jump over? Michelle, do you know where you're headed? Alexa, set a 5-minute timer. Alexa, set a 4-minute timer.
So, and I know somebody that can fix that. So I will just, I'm not going to stay there for 6 hours until I get 2 referrals, but it just keeps you in the mindset of playing the game, whether it's, at their home, which is ideal because there's always something in the home that's messed up, or at their office, place of business. It's just it's a fun way to stay interested, and then same thing for one-to-ones is, I'm not leaving that one-to-one until I have at least one thing, an introduction or something I can make. So it's, if I gamify it a little bit, then it keeps me focused.
Being online, just using a lot more of those social media platforms as far as like visitors and referrals as well. And then the one-to-ones are, consistent, at least 2, if not more a week.
Okay. Tracy, what about you?
So I'm always in the podcast realm as well. I always have the podcast on. If I'm at my desk, I have them playing in the background. So I do very similar to Lindsay as well, as to play those. But I do something maybe a little bit different. When I'm with my clients, I'm always either looking or asking questions, or, looking for ways to find another referral partner, or asking for ways to refer my power teams as well. For example, yesterday or Saturday, we were working and there were Arbonne products that were sitting out. So I asked my client, "Oh, I see you're using Arbonne." And she said, "Oh yeah, but I have, my friend is in Ohio and I have products shipped." So I'm like, "Oh, I have someone here locally. Would that be of interest to you?" And she's like, "Absolutely." So I was able to refer somebody in my chapter. So just, looking for ways to be able to do that. It's always looking and listening for me is to refer my chapter and my members. That's always what I'm doing. So if I don't listen and hear something, I'm always visually looking for something to find for my chapter members as well.
Okay. So for me, I'm an attorney, a real estate attorney. If there's a transaction that I can refer folks to, or I've had over the last week and a half, I've had 2 different clients who have had issues with their septic or their sewer. One had a plumbing issue, so it was real easy, and I was very happy those were my first 2 referrals to the plumber in our group, who I absolutely love. I am a member of a private group within a brokerage. And so that has allowed me, as soon as somebody asks for who can recommend a roofer, and so I can jump in there. And that's been very helpful, which goes back to your next door idea, or Facebook. I know that in our chapter, everybody's using Facebook more. And we're trying to get that together so, we can generate more positive information about the individuals to actually get them the referral, not just
told me about, seeing a car on the road that's nearby. You give them a call, do the grip method. Been trying that out. But so these ideas you guys have, I'm writing down feverishly here.
Yeah. Great. So I'm a financial advisor, and when I have conversations with clients, it's a pretty specific conversation. But what I make sure to do is to tie into that is I listen real closely to all my chapter members, what they're looking for each and every week in terms
of visitors, for sure. I think one-to-one, having good one-to-ones, and then good quality one-to-ones, and then that rolls over into your referrals as well.
Right. I mean, do we have a tactical way to make sure, or more than just, because I totally agree with you, but I know I struggle with visitors, and I spend time intentionally inviting. I know I've reached out to several, I I say I struggle. I did have some success, so I'm not a struggler in the sense that I have none. But in order to get one,
You got 50 seconds.
yeah, I know. So okay.
I would say just asking every day, having your eyes, like I take a picture of a car every day somewhere as I'm driving around and I make a phone call.
Yeah, that's
So
a good idea.
it's consistency of just doing that all the time. But I always want to know who our number one wanted profession is. And in the chapter, then I go for that because I can go on Nextdoor, I can go on LinkedIn, I can go on Facebook, and I can invite 10 of them. And then
Yeah.
2 or 3 might show up and we'll get an application every time if I can get 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Good. That's good.
So make sure you got written down and who your spokesperson is. I'm going to return back. All right. Did we have some good sharing go on? Did anybody learn anything from that? Nodding your head is a universal sign of acceptance and yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, so I would love to know from group number 1. Do you remember who your groups were? That would be another thing. It's like, no, I don't know who that is. So let's hear from the spokespersons, the spokespeople out there. What were your very best ways so we can all share and learn from you?
My group did a great job. One of the things that was mentioned was while they were on site with their own clients, they would come in and ask open-ended questions like, why are we redoing these floors today? And then the client would say, oh, et cetera. And they mentioned they got usually 6 to 7 referrals off of a question like that because it just gets the client talking and they're either going to be bragging or complaining about something. So you can really generate referrals that way. That was one of the biggest things that I learned in my group.
I learned that same thing from one of my best buddies that is a carpet cleaner, and that's what he started asking was, so why are we cleaning the carpets today? And it changed his whole business. He doubled the referrals that he got from the moment he started asking it. So awesome. Another group.
Hey, Spencer, Nick Campbell here. We are group 2. A lot of great discussion, but one that kind of stood out is that having a day set aside each week that you focus just on BNI. That's 7.5 hours is almost a full day of work. But the meeting day, so you start your day off with BNI, got a lot of positive energy going, flow into some one-to-ones, and then also the activity of specifically generating referrals while you have the what to listen for information clean in your head. And also you've taken a look at, your most wanted list. And so it doesn't eliminate the rest of the days of the week to do activity, but having one day specific and being consistent with it will produce results.
Fantastic idea. Group 3. Or another group.
That would be me. Our group came back again to being very intentional. And one of our group members had a best practice that someone in her chapter did of actually creating a list of professionals and making that something that you can hand out to people as you're having conversations or email this and allowing that to be also your top of mind to be able to very quickly reply to people who need something when you're having conversations.
Awesome. Intentionality is an important thing. What if every single week you focused on finding a way to bring up the 2 people who had feature presentations in every conversation that you had with someone new? Like, what if you just said, this week I was listening to, right? Because now you can bring it up because you heard something. A great intentional way of saying, I'm going to talk about these people this week. Because we do say every week, let's focus on bringing them a referral for who they're looking for. So excellent. Next group.
That was me, Spencer, group 4. We had 2 good ideas, if it's okay. One is do something a little bit each day, whether it's inviting a visitor or doing a one-to-one, but just do something a little bit each day, BNI related. And then another one was proactively filling out the roster. So when you have your BNI meeting and everyone gives their commercial, naturally we all have a few that we can go, oh yeah, I know somebody that can help there. And so put a star next to it, and then proactively take some time and then go work on finding those referrals for those stars, that you can refer.
How many of your chapters, by raise of hands on your video, are using a PDF version of your roster every single week now? Okay, so there's some that aren't doing that. Be the person who says, hey, we need our roster PDF and sent out every single week so that we have it, because you also want to have that so that your visitors all get a copy of it. Otherwise, they're leaving with nothing. They don't have a way to contact you. You want to make sure every visitor has a list in their hand with everyone's contact information every week. Super important. Okay, next person.
We talked, Spencer, we were in group 5, we talked about time blocking to make sure that all these best ideas even happen in the first place. So although time blocking isn't extraordinary as a thought, it is the foundational thing that will get it in your space of real life. So.
Excellent. Fantastic concept. If you don't make time for it, it won't happen. And all of a sudden you'll get to the end of the week going, oh shoot, I didn't do that, right? Anybody else? Next one.
This is Celeste, and I was in group number 6, and exactly what you were saying is that we concurred that we all need to scope out specific time to do it. But the takeaway from our group was that everyone in the group was very BNI minded, so call it intentionality, call it being top of mind. Pete brought up the fact that he has this mindset that he's the hub, and that all the people around him understand that he's the hub or the resource and the go-to person. But the most important part about that is constantly communicating with your sphere of contacts in your life that you are a resource to them. So keeping that top of mind on other people's minds generates a lot of importance.
Excellent. Are there any other topics that we want to make sure we get out that were really great ideas that you didn't hear covered by someone else?
I don't remember which group we were in, but there were actually 2 themes. I don't think have been mentioned. Power teams, really utilizing your power teams right now. And then also social media, Nextdoor, Facebook, really utilizing those platforms to try to get visitors and referrals right now.
I know that I've gotten at least 3 referrals of people in this room right now. I'm looking over all the names. In this room, I've generated at least 3 referrals that turned into good money business from Nextdoor. So it's a very, very valuable thing to have that social media stuff. Awesome. Any other topics that weren't covered? Please,
one of the things that somebody in my chapter has actually been very successful of is using Alignable, which is not a platform that is very often used, but there's a lot of people on there. So she has had a lot of success with bringing visitors.
Just remember, there's like certain people are on certain platforms, and you're going to find people like my kids that say, we never go on Facebook. We're only on Snapchat, or we're only on TikTok, or right. And so it just depends. You're going to have people who are using different things. So try different parts. Whichever ones you do a part of, put it on there. All right, we get everything out. We ready to have a little bit of fun? Nobody's ready to have fun. Michelle B. Okay, okay. We got a couple of people. I saw a couple of shaking heads. Okay, so here we go. Get Kahoot out on your phone, because we are going to have a little bit of fun on the Kahoot. And if you have not played Kahoot yet, it's a very, very simple thing. You are going to use this screen to take that number, which is 9953222, and put that into Kahoot. You're going to see the questions come up on your screen, and you're only going to get the color or the shape on your phone to answer the question with. So as we get people logged in, we'll ask the question. The person who answers the question correctly gets points, but the fastest person also gets more points. So it starts out at 1,000 points on every question, and it gets less and less the longer the question's out there for the 20 seconds. So you want to be looking for the right answer, but you also want to be looking at it for the fastest answer. And we're going to see who's going to come out as the leaderboard on top for eternal glory and have amazing things happen in their world today. I don't know if that's true, but we're going to have something fun, and we're going to get it done here. Of our 30 people so far, I see that we have 14, 9, 9, 5, 3, 2, 2, 2. Got to start it in about 10, 15 seconds, or we're going to have that opportunity. We're going to miss having enough time and finishing on time. So got 16, 17, 18. And we'll get to see who's the names of these. Some of these where you're like, oh, who's that? So we'll see as we go. 18 going once, going twice, and 19. Wow, Mitch just barely got in. I was like, oh, we got everybody. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Okay. 20 Percenters Workshop, here we go, 7 questions. First question is a quiz question, and that is, you can multi-select. What does the Pareto Principle mean? You got to hit submit on that question. Multiple answers. You only got 5 seconds, so you're not going to get them. 3, 2, 1, come on. All right. So some of you are going, wait, that was hard. I shouldn't start with the hard one. Well, it is what it is. It gets you to go, oh man, I got to get on it. The reality is all of them were correct. You just needed to be able to answer them as quickly as possible to go in and see if they were all talking about the same thing. Okay. So our leaderboard, Celeste is on top with 1,276 points. Big deal. Okay, let's see who can do it next. True or false? Should be easier to answer this one fast. Should you give up doing 80% BNI activities to focus on the 20%? Or you should. True or false? All right.
No going back to fix an answer.
Going back to what? Oh, you mean, no, I don't know that you can fix an answer. I think once it's answered, it's done. Okay, so 21, all of you got it. Fastest finger. Wow, Celeste is still on top. Look at that. Who is Cap? Who's Cap out there? Not seeing a hand. Don't know who Cap is. We'll find out soon. All right, next one up, quiz. Here you go. How much is each visitor to our chapters normally worth? Is it worthless? 500, 5,000, or 1,000 to 1,500? All right. 1,000 to 1,500 is the correct answer. Let's see who's on top now. Oh man, she is not getting knocked off. All it takes is one wrong answer, folks. Celeste can be beat. We got Cap and Mercy behind it. Lynn's, and check it out. Up 6 places. Marlita Black is our highest climber so far. Let's keep it up. We got a couple of them left before we finish today. What is Pareto's first name? William, Vilfredo, Alfredo, or Vincenzo? Three, 2, 1. And 11 of us got it right. It is Vilfredo. And who's got the top spot? Look at that. The rest of the board all changed but Celeste. Keeping it real. All right, 6 players just hit a 3-answer streak. I think that's how you jumped up so much. Here's our 5th of 7. Generating referrals and inviting visitors are our highest values activity in BNI. True or false? You're having a hard time with that one? There you go. Everybody got that one right, because all the other activities lead to those specific things. More often than not, generating referrals is the end result of having one-to-ones and doing our feature presentation and our weekly presentation, all those things. Let's see. Celeste is still on top. Nick is now in 2. Look at that. Matt McElraith made it onto the board, and we had 6 players just hit 4 streaks. All right, 6th question. One more left after this, and this is only the last one for points. How many CEUs is today's workshop worth? Is it worth 1 CEU, 2 CEUs, 3 CEUs, or 0? This isn't educational. This is just games. It is worth 1 CEU. That is correct. And let's see who does it, because the last one is more of just a poll. Oh, look at that. Nick is on fire, but Celeste wins. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right, so here we go with our last poll question. The most valuable part of this workshop, what was it for you? Understanding the Pareto Principle better, this fun quiz, the breakout room sharing, the data to understand things better. What was it for you, the best part of today's workshop, most valuable? All right. Breakout rooms almost always win in every activity, every conference I go to. Same thing for me. I just learn things from others. That's why I don't want to talk the whole time. I want to show you stuff. I want to get interaction, but I want you guys to teach each other. So next behind that was understanding the data a little better to see. Sometimes when you just know, it opens up your mind a little bit better to things, and then understanding the Pareto Principle. All right. Well, I think that tells us that our podium, our third place winner, was Millie. Awesome. Second place was Nick Campbell. And our first place winner is Celeste Clancy. Give her a hand. Awesome. All right. We're going to stop that. I'm going to close it because it's loud. It plays loud music on my side, so I got to make sure I have that turned off or I can't think. Okay, so my question for you guys is there anything else that you wanted to know that you didn't get from this? Because we have a minute left. I thought for sure we were not going to have any minutes left. Was this valuable? Will you share to others to come back to other workshops?
Yes,
I hope that you guys want to generate folks coming in here, because we could have 100 people in here. We could have 500 people in here. And we could make it really fun. And then that leaderboard would be all over the place too for this Kahoot stuff. So realize that we have an activity. I know that we're right at 10:30. So if you need to go, I get it. Here's one of the things I want you guys to know. On the calendar, I sent out an email. I don't know what the problem is. BNI is trying to help me figure it out. I sent out my region-wide email on Friday, and it didn't go. I sent it out on Saturday, and it didn't go. And I sent it out on Sunday, and it still hasn't gone. So I'm going to send it today. But specifically, one of the activities that I'd love you to spread the word about, it's on the calendar right now. A lot of the regions, of BNI regions around the country, are doing speed networking events and opportunities. We are going to call them virtual one-to-ones. What we're doing with it is, it's an activity where everybody comes together. My friend Robin Schuckman, that's up in the Northwest in Portland and Seattle, she's been doing this for several weeks, and it's really working for them. What they do is they have up to 100 people who can come to a meeting. You hit auto breakout rooms, and it breaks everybody into twos, and then you get 15 minutes to share with each other some information about each other and learning about each other's business from all around the region, from different people, from different chapters everywhere, and to see if it's a valuable connection for you to then be able to go, let's set up a real one-to-one. And we do it 3 times during the time. So we're going to talk about, here's some best practices to help your virtual one-to-ones be the best they can. And then we're breaking out 3 different times for 15 minutes. And then we come back and share what are some of the great things that you got from it. And you get a CEU for it. You don't get any one-to-ones, you get a CEU. And then you can go out and make those CEUs happen if it's a good fit for you and it's a good for both of you. And hopefully you can find a couple of people to have a one-to-one with that week that can help you increase your business. So that happens on Wednesday afternoon. It's on the BNI Tampa calendar right now. As soon as we hit 100 people in it, I will start the next one and the next one, and we'll do multiple events if we need to. But I want to see how well it works, because if we get 15 people and that's all that we get, then great. If we need more people and we need more events, there's a few regions that are doing them 3 times a week right now, and they're doing them Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday afternoons throughout the whole region. So if it works into being something that's powerful and it works, awesome. But the only place I have that is on the email and on the Tampa calendar right now. So go out and make it happen. Anybody have any other questions or want to add anything to our meeting today? A whole lot of quiet. Nobody's unmuting. So now you can all unmute yourselves and say hello or goodbye and have a great day.
Thank you.
I just registered.
Spencer, I really like seeing everybody in the gallery view at the end. It's nice.
Yes, I do too.
Thanks for putting this together, Spencer. This was really cool.
You bet. Next week we
Thank
got
you very
another
much.
fun one. Get back on this next week, same time, same place.
Mondays rock.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you. Good fun interactions. People were up and having fun.